volcanoes. Now I'd like to mainly focus on the advantages. So first of all, the volcanoes are monitored. And several international organizations are in contact with the Icelandic offices. And whenever there's a big eruption, the Icelanders are very good to ask for help, and they're very experienced themselves. So, for example, last year there was colleagues from the US, colleagues from Scandinavia. They're all being brought together. Those people with volcano experience are then slotted into monitoring teams, into surveillance teams. And of course, we have ground-based monitoring, we have air monitoring, we have remote sensing via satellites. Here's a satellite image of how a volcano deforms. And this allows us to really make sure that the volcanoes usually don't cause any fatalities anymore. We cannot prevent that they will cause damage to infrastructure, but the death toll of volcanoes has been continuously going down over the last 100 years. We're getting actually pretty good at this now, as long as we invest and are prepared to put the effort in. So, but here's the two faces of volcanoes. Let's close with some positive sides of volcanoes. Well, first of all, we said tourism has saved the Icelandic economy, and the biggest tourist attraction in Iceland is the Blue Lagoon. Here's the Blue Lagoon, and actually that's, I almost not dare say it, but it's the wastewater of a geothermal power plant. And they just pour it into a little valley, and it's stuck there. And some smart Icelandic person said, let's make it a pool. And so it is, and it comes with a lot of silicon mud, and this is now marketed as well. You can use it as cosmetics. It's actually surprisingly good for your skin because it dries out your skin. It's got sulfur as well. It disinfects the skin. So, and it's very, very popular. So geothermal energy is very, very important in Iceland, and 40% of the geothermal energy is used for generating electricity, making Iceland a haven of cheap electricity. And there's also greenhouses in Iceland, fish farming, etc. All of these things use geothermal energy, and it's cheap, it's plentiful, and it's renewable. And let's see whether I get this to work. So this is a little geothermal vent near Krafla volcano, and you get a sense it's steaming away permanently. We'd be silly not to harvest the energy from these places. So how does it work? Well, usually what happens is we take cold water, we pump it down, we have to drill holes, and this is where the accident at Krafla happened. So here's the magma reservoir, the heat source. We pump cold water down, and the water expands when we make steam of it, and this expansion is what drives the turbines, and this allows us to make electric power. But the geothermal energy is not just used to create electricity and district heating. Actually, in Reykjavik, even the streets are kept free of snow and ice in winter because there is all the geothermal power pipelines. They are under the streets, and that keeps the streets free. And actually, these days, we're also drying fish with it. A lot of the dried Icelandic fish is actually dried in greenhouses that are heated with geothermal energy. And the greenhouses are partly also used for producing all sorts of crops. And believe it or not, Iceland has the highest banana production of all the Scandinavian countries. So, and of course, you can grow not only bananas, but also flowers and other vegetables. And here you see a tiny little graph. Hydropower is rising in Iceland. This is 2010. Coal and oil is diminishing, but geothermal is the big new energy source in Iceland. Well, I mentioned the Blue Lagoon. It's, of course, a huge tourist attraction, brings a lot of money, it's very attractive, and also the cosmetics that come from it. And if you go to the airport, for example, Reykjavik or Keflavik airport, you have large shops there, and of course at the Blue Lagoon itself. And the products are very good for your skin, as I said, and they're very popular. And strangely enough, I'm reading that they're extremely popular in Asia for some reason. So then, if you are a whiskey drinker and you don't like water in your whiskey, then Icelanders recommend you take a piece of Icelandic rock, you put it outside in winter, and then it freezes over, and then you can put it into your drink, making the drink cold without adding water. So we have no real ore deposits in Iceland, but there's some gemstones, and people work with the stones, of course, to a very sophisticated level. And in addition to this, Iceland has, of course, these extraordinary landforms, extraordinary life forms, and this is a beautiful natural laboratory for scientists like myself coming here, studying the eruptions, studying how the Earth works, studying actually how the Earth may have even started to build continental crust, because Iceland is one of these laboratories. And just to close off, Iceland also gave rise to a whole wealth of myth, legend, and sagas, and all of them somehow connect to volcanoes. Thank you very much.